When I had the carburetor apart, I found black sediment in the float bowl, and I cleaned it out, and I actually had to take the float bowl off twice after I ran a little bit. I had to pull it off a second time. I was just trying to check something, and there was more sediment in it. So I kind of assumed that here's the fuel line out of there, and it's kind of stiff. I assumed that the fuel was probably starting to break it down, especially if there was some ethanol fuel in it. I usually use wrecked fuel, and so I don't have alcohol problems, but it seemed as though perhaps the lining of this hose was breaking down and running into the float bowl, which isn't a good thing. So I bought a new piece of hose that I'm going to install, but the reason I'm bringing it up is there are SAE standards on these kinds of hoses, and this one, based on the date code, looks like it was probably replaced once. And it's a 1/4 inch SAE, and the spec for the SAE hose is 30R6. Now, I don't have the SAE spec of exactly what a 30R6 is supposed to be, but it's conventional fuel hose. Since there's a lot of alcohol and ethanol around, I went hunting to see if there was a better hose. And I bought this one at the auto parts store. It's made by Gates. And it is what they call, it's Gates 4219B, and it's called Barricade fuel hose. The reason they call it Barricade is that now in the age of regulations, emissions regulations, fuel actually evaporates through the walls of hose, and substantial amounts, and it contributes to air pollution. These old hoses, the 30R6 is not particularly resistant to that. This one has a special liner in it that is, 1, supposed to be resistant to alcohol, and 2, resistant to evaporation. And so the Barricade, as far as I understand by their advertising, the Barricade is the inner liner that prevents this from having so much evaporation. And this one is an SAE 30R14, actually 14T1 if you want to be precise. But it's 1/4 inch fuel hose that should be more resistant to alcohol, and I'm going to install this when I put things back together. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put an inline fuel filter in there. As far as I could tell, the sediment probably didn't come from the tank. The tank is plastic, and it's not black. It's either red or white based on the fittings. So anyway, going to replace the hose, make sure that that's good for next time. All right, new fuel filter, new hose. I got it all routed okay. We'll put the cowling back on here. This one's always a little bit of fun to get it where you want it to go. Got to get it over the lever for the carburetor and then sneak it. There we go. Sneak it down in. That's all for now.